Good morning and welcome. My name is Sorowar Chowdhury. I am doing my PhD in the School of Language and Culture, and here is my supervisor, Dr. Sharon Harvey and Megan Lowry. So, I came from Bangladesh. It is a South Asian country, and as you can see in the map, actually I will be talking about Myanmar and very specifically a community called Rohingya. So, Myanmar, as you can see on the screen, it is a South Asian country, and Rohingya lives in the state of Rakhine. So, here is the Rakhine. So, as you can see on the screen, there is a campaign called No Rohingya and also No Muslim. So, I am not talking about Muslim, I am talking about Rohingya specifically. So, this is the latest situation in Myanmar, where the Rohingya people, they have been living for centuries. In some literature, I have found that they have been living from 8th century, but they are now in the 21st century. They have been denied the citizenship of Myanmar. So, let us see. So, my presentation will be like this. First of all, I will be presenting my research question. Then I will introduce the Rohingya as a whole in brief. Then I will present the justification of my research, then theoretical framework, and it will be followed by design or methodology of my research, and then trustworthiness of my research. So, I have selected one research question, and which is fragmented into 3 sub-questions. The research question is, what are the educational aspirations of the Rohingya refugees living in New Zealand? And it is subdivided into 3 sub-questions. One is aspiration, next one is experiences, and the final one is outcomes. All are related to education of the Rohingya refugee people. And I will be focusing my study on the age group of 16 to 25 years, and I am coming later on the topic. So, as I told you earlier that I will be introducing Rohingya in short. So, they are the Muslim minority population in Myanmar and mostly living in the Rakhine state. In Myanmar, there are about 49 million people, and Rohingya people are about 1.3 million. So, they have been suffering a lot, and they are being actually, the third point is here, they have been denied citizenship in 1982, as because it is assumed or it is thought that they are not the original citizen of Myanmar. So, I am not going into that debate. But as I found from the literature, they should be treated as citizen of Myanmar. So, they have been denied their citizenship, and they are being persecuted in many ways, and as a result even UNHCR recognized that they are the most persecuted minority, or in some cases Muslim minority in the world. And having that persecution and denial of citizenship, some of them left out the country and became refugees, and they fulfill all the criteria defined by the United Nations. In short, a person who is out of the country for fear of persecution and not willing to go back to that country, as because his life will be at stake. In short, he or she is called refugee. So, the key reasons for undertaking my research, number one is my personal experience. I was associated with Muslim Aid UK Bangladesh Field Office. We have a project dealing with the Rohingya refugees, and they were the undocumented or not officially recognized refugees in Bangladesh. There are 14,000 plus refugees, and I visited Malaysia several times for the same purpose, as because there are a considerable number of Rohingya refugees in Malaysia, and some of them even living there for more than 2 decades. And what I found in Bangladesh and in Malaysia, that they have little access to formal education. And as you know, education is the human right, basic human right. And in case of New Zealand, New Zealand is the signatory of 1951 Refugee Convention and 1967 Protocol regarding the status of refugees. And you know, New Zealand is one of the few countries who have the option, who have provided option to the refugees for the resettlement. And education is one of the 5 goals of New Zealand refugee resettlement strategy. But this goal actually is focusing on only 2 things. Number 1 is the secondary level, NCEA level 2. And for the adult populations, English language skill. So my age group is 16 to 25. So they will fall mostly under the tertiary education. And thereby I think I could contribute something to the refinement of the education goal of the strategy in future, hopefully. And another thing is there was a supporting fund for the refugee students, and it has been terminated in 2010. And there is another issue, that one is like a special fund to facilitate the education for the special group of people. That one is not available for the refugees, that is called equity fund. So there are some reasons to conduct in New Zealand, and hopefully in New Zealand perspective, the lived experiences of the Rohingya refugees hopefully will be applied in other similar settings. And in international perspectives, the international donor agencies and the aid agencies, their program priorities will be better informed as a result of my research. So these are the key reasons for undertaking this research. Now theoretical framework. My research will be based on critical theory or critical inquiry, as because it deals with human emancipation. Since the Rohingya refugees, as I have just told, they have come through the transitional countries without having access to formal education. So they assume that they are already disempowered. This is why I want, through my study, to give them voice or to have their voice heard by the national and international communities. So therefore, I have chosen the critical theory. Regarding design of the study, methodology. So methodology is critical ethnography, as because ethnography deals with the whole culture sharing group. Since I will be studying one culture sharing group, that is Rohingya. So this is why I have chosen ethnography. And critical ethnography is, what should I say, like plain ethnography, it deals with what is, and critical ethnography, it deals with what could be. And critical ethnography finds its critical theory finds its methodology in critical ethnography. So this is why I have chosen critical ethnography. Now the methods you can see in the slide, there are 6 methods of qualitative research I have chosen. Number 1 is questionnaire for socio-demographic data, then consultation of documents, then interview with key stakeholders, then participant observation, focus group, and semi-structured in-depth interview. The first 3 I will do for the development of my context, as because this is the very important part of ethnographic research, and the second 3 will be my data for analysis. and age group is 16 to 25 years, as because this age group of people has been not properly given attention by the refugee resettling countries. And sample size may be around 15, it is not finalized as because I have been still working. And sampling will be purposing and comprehensive. Data analysis, I will follow 5 steps of data analysis. It is like methods and analysis, loosely fitted like a cyclic order, and it is proposed by Karspeken in 1996. So there are 5 stages here. Number 1 is monologic data generation, then preliminary reconstructive analysis, dialogic data generation, description of system relations, and system relations as explanations of findings. So the number 1 is monologic, means I will observe my participants indirectly or silently. So it is my single work, monologic. Then preliminary reconstructive analysis, I will analyze the findings from my observation on my own regarding the trends, values, culture, norms of my study population. Then dialogic data generation. So this is the stage where my research will act as some democratic tool, as because my research participants, they will have some control over the research process. Then in this stage I will conduct the focus groups and the in-depth interviews. And stage 4 and 5, these are like linking the research with greater aspects. Stage 4 we call it discovery. We will link the local sites with the broader sites. And stage 5 we call it explanation stage. I will link my research findings with the broader social theories. So these are the 5 steps proposed by Karspeken, and especially in case of stage number 3, I will go to stage number 1, as because I have told you that it is a loosely fitted 5 stages of cyclic order. And finally, there is another slide that is called rigor or trustworthiness. Since it is a qualitative research, as proposed by Guba and Lincoln in 1985, there are 4 criteria. Number 1 is credibility, then transferability, then dependability, and confirmability. So these I will focus basically on all 4 aspects, which is actually, as I showed you that the Karspeken slides. That scholar, he also borrowed the idea from Guba and Lincoln. So the credibility ensures the authenticity of my data collection strategy. I will be doing it by triangulation and member checking. Then transferability is like thick description that will include my context of research in detail. And confirmability and dependability, I will provide sufficient clear direction and description of sampling, data collection, analysis, and thereby I will establish transparency and integrity, which will ensure the dependability and confirmability of my research. So these were all about my research and my trustworthiness. So my time is also over. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Now if you have any comments or questions, please.
Thank you, Sorowar. And thank you for keeping it up.
Sorry.
Thank you for keeping it up.
Please.
Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. I've got 2 questions.
Yeah.
The first one, maybe I'm going to again help us from an ethical point of view. You said the age of your participants from 16 to 25?
Yeah.
Do you require consent? I understand below the age of 18 they need consent. Is that okay, Charles? 16. So it's covered, it's all right. Okay, so that's fine. My next question would be, in terms of your the sort of designs that are going to be using. Why are you using 5 or 6 sort of methods to collect data, questionnaire, interviews, blah, blah?
Yeah.
When you get the time to do all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you choose just 1 or 2?
As I have mentioned, that context is very much essential and very much important in case of ethnographic study. So the first 3, like questionnaire for demographic data, then consultation of documents and consultation or interview with key stakeholders. I will be doing this for development of a solid context. And after that, there are 3 methods: participant observation, focus group, and semi-structured interview.
Yeah, I understand. My question is, where do you get the time on this app to do all that? Because it's almost like doing 2 PhDs. You know?
Yeah, I will do all this parallelly, and like number 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I will do all this parallelly, but if it is like unmanageable, as because it is not finalized, then maybe I have to. Also, my supervisor suggested maybe you are going to collect too much data, but maybe I have to curtail some from these 6. If you have any specific suggestion, maybe please.
Yeah, if I were you, I would just do maybe questionnaire interviews in focus group, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Focus group and?
Focus groups and maybe some face-to-face interviews.
Yeah,
Focus
yeah,
group.
yeah.
That's it. Of course,
Yeah.
using a bit of a questionnaire.
No, that's all right, but observation is another aspect which is very important in case of ethnographic study, but we will consider your suggestion, of course, as because my supervisors are here. I will talk to them later on.
Thank you. Any other questions? In regards to...
So
Please.
a question about the data collection. Are we going to conduct interviews in New Zealand with Rohingya refugees that are based in New Zealand?
Yeah, as I have mentioned, yeah, all my study population will be from New Zealand and specifically from Auckland. So the data collection all will be here.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, I'd like to thank Sorowar for
All right.
the presentation
Thank you. Yeah.
on behalf of the University Postgraduate Centre, and present you with a small token of
All
our
right.
appreciation.
Thank you and all my audiences here.